What is your age currently?
I am 66, going on 67.
All right. Uh, what was your age when you entered Vietnam?
I was 19 when I went to Vietnam. I turned 20 while I was there.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I was drafted.
All right. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a town called St. Paul Park. It's just south of Newport and across the river from Inver Grove Heights. It's the old St. Paul Park. Now the high school that is called Park at Cottage Grove.
Oh,
That's a big area. There's Woodbury and Cottage Grove, and now there's an East Ridge, I think. Yeah, big school district now.
all right. What did you do before Vietnam? Like, what were your plans for after high school?
After high school, I had a scholarship to play football at University of Wisconsin Superior State, across from Duluth. I didn't play football. I did play hockey, but I only went a semester, and then I dropped out. And at that time, you had to have, I believe it was 36 credits, or maybe it was 32, can't remember exactly. You had to be in college, or else you were eligible for the draft. Now, I was in before they had the lottery. Anybody tell you about the lottery that they had?
Not.
Anyway, so when I dropped out of Superior, they were on semesters, and I enrolled in River Falls, and they were on quarters, so I didn't have enough credits. So I was eligible for the draft, and sure enough, I took my physical. I could chew gum and walk down the street at the same time. That was a criteria for the Army, and I got drafted in the Army in 1968, May of '68.
What were your plans for your life after Vietnam or after you dropped out? Did you kind of know you were going to get drafted?
Yeah, I originally wanted to go and be like a high school math teacher, and then like a football or hockey coach. That's what I originally wanted to when I got out of high school. I was young though. I was 17. I should have probably not gone to school. I have a late birthday in November, so now I would have not gone to school so early, and so that's what I wanted to do. After uh, after Vietnam, and that was such a strange thing. Uh, I, I didn't go back to school right away. I went back to work, and then I did go back to school and get my degree and got married and a few other things like that. So, yeah,
What did you get your degree in?
elementary education and physical education. Yeah, I got my bachelor's from River Falls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you said you were drafted?
Yeah, I was drafted.
All right. Was serving in the military part of your family history?
Yeah, yeah. On both sides, my mom and dad, their parents had served in the service. Uh, my dad, my mother-in-law, even my father-in-law, everybody had served in the service, and that was one of the things. I was a young kid, and all I wanted to do was play football, hockey, and baseball, hang around with my buddies. So when the war did come up, I knew about the war. I knew, and I didn't want to be drafted, but all my uncles were in the service, and it was like, okay, this is what I think I need to do. Now, not everybody felt that way, especially after after like 68, 69 were big years as far as war protests, and a lot of things happened. A lot of things happened. Wow, 68, Martin Luther King, Kennedy, Chicago, when they had the Democratic Convention. I mean, it was crazy. I think 70, Kent State, when the 4 kids got killed. Yeah, I was in the service at that time. Strange.
So since your family were in the military, did they ever pressure you to enlist, or
No,
no?
no. I, if you went to school, you had you were, I had a student deferment. You have to register. You guys, when you're 18, I think, have to register for the draft. You just have to register with the federal government. And I had also, but there was no pressure to join. No, there wasn't. It was just kind of, I don't think my parents really were real excited about me being in the military. They weren't excited about me going to Vietnam, but yeah.
All right. What branch of the service were you in?
I was in the Army.
All right. What was your role during Vietnam?
When I was in the, when I was in basic training, they said, gee, you've had some college, would you like to go on and do something else? I said, yeah, I'd like to do that. What do I have to do? They said, well, you have to sign up for another year. And I only wanted to make a 2-year commitment. And the same in my other training. And so I kind of had a little bit of an attitude, a little chip on my shoulder. So when I got to Vietnam, I was in the infantry, and I carried a radio, which is not the greatest thing to have to do because you're kind of a target. And so consequently, I got wounded. So I carried a radio. I was out in the jungle just about the entire time. I was there 4.5 months before I got wounded. And I was out, never saw Saigon or any big cities. Jungle the whole time.
Oh, where was your basic training at?
I went to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. In fact, God, there was a whole bunch of us that went down there. First time I ever flew in an airplane. Yeah, it was. We were poor. Our family didn't have a lot. And I wasn't close to my dad. My dad was an alcoholic, and he went north, I'd go south, double time. So.
All right. What was part of your basic training? Like, what were some of the things that you would do at this base?
Well, first of all, it was in the, no, I guess that was the other training, but they have to kind of take away all individuality that a person has because, the theory is you have to act as a unit. When you're told to do something, they don't want people to question that. So it's almost a little bit like a brainwashing. A lot of harassment. I mean, they're all over you. They're in your face, and a lot of physical, and then schooling about what the military is all about. I did not like it. I didn't care for it. Although I was an athlete, so physically I was really good shape, and there were guys in there that were just terrible. I mean, but I mean it was out and out harassment. If you were fat, if you had any abnormalities, they would just jump all over you. So, and I grew up pretty much a white, not any students of color, and in the service, then you meet people from all over the place. It was really interesting. So, but they would they would just go after you. You'd have classroom, and then you'd go shoot weapons. I never shot a weapon before I was in the service. You notice I said gun because you got to say weapon. You can't say gun because it's your weapon. But we trained with the M14 and drill and ceremony and it's something that you try to blur out. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
And then I went to Fort Lewis, Washington, for AIT, Advanced Infantry Training. So, I wasn't a bad, but I was a little too independent, I think, for the military. So, but that's what everybody wears green. Everybody's got green socks, green underwear, green T-shirts, and before you eat, you have to say certain things, and yeah, interesting time. Of course, you look back at it now and you laugh. While I was there, in the moment, it was like, what the hell is this? Gee, you're crazy.
Yeah. So,
and then you meet crazy people from all over too. Yeah.
So, like, is there anyone that you specifically remember that was really crazy, like, beyond normal, crazy?
In Vietnam, yeah, we had one guy that was goofy, and he got asked he got transferred. We wouldn't keep him.
Oh.
He was gun ho to kill, and just
Oh.
and just great. There was an incident, and it's pretty graphic, but there was an incident where some Vietnamese soldiers, grenade, and half their head was blown off, and he'd go up there and want his picture taken, and he'd spit in the head. And, I mean, it's just that inhumane things.
Yeah. So
Got
this,
rid of him.
yeah, this AIT training you were talking about, that's just kind of like for infantry only because it.
Yeah, it was to prepare you to go to Vietnam.
All right.
So you had the training with the M16 and the different weapons, the little grenade launcher and the M72 Law, and shot 50 caliber, shot 16 caliber machine guns, and kind of played war. But you can't train anybody to actually go to war, especially in Vietnam, the guerrilla warfare and how crazy that was. But that's what it was geared for, very, very stressful. They made it very, very stressful.
So would you say that there was mental as long as physical abuse at these trainings?
Yeah. Yeah, abuse is what it was,
Oh.
I can't imagine that, dude, that it would go on today. I'm not sure, but I mean, some of it is just in order to make you conform. There's a bit of intimidation, but there were times when they went beyond that. Not in Vietnam. In Vietnam, we just said up yours, because what are you going to do? Send us to we're already here, but back in the training. But a lot of the mentality was to take away all individuality, so that when we say, go through that wall, we'll try to go through the wall with our heads, and not think about it.
Right.
But I mean, I survived, people survive. Yeah.
All right. What part of Vietnam were you deployed in?
I was just outside of Saigon, or Ho Chi Minh City now. Saigon, just northwest. And I was with the 1st Infantry, the Big Red 1, Bravo 1st of the 18th. And after I got there and got my weapon, got assigned, took my first helicopter ride, and I was with a unit in a base camp out in the middle of nowhere, a clearing in the jungle. There would be like 4 of these big 105 howitzers, big artillery. Then there were bunkers around the side, and that was our base camp. And there was a helicopter pad, and so we would go from there to different places in the jungle. Pretty crazy. Yeah.
So, were you ever on one of the helicopters that went around different places?
Yeah. The Hueys.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I don't know, over 20 insertions with on the helicopter. Yeah, because they would pick. I think what they did was they took a grid square on a map, and they would bomb. They would have intelligence would say, okay, we know that the NVA is coming in through this section, or we know that the Viet Cong are in control of this section, so we'll drop you off, and we want you to explore and see what you can find. So they'd pick you up in helicopters, and they'd drop you off, and then they said, okay, we want you to go like 5 kilometers, 5 clicks or 10 clicks, and want you to go until you come upon a ox cart trail, and then set up ambush that night, because we know that the VC of the Viet Cong are coming, the NVA, North Vietnamese, are coming through that area. That's what he did. Ambush every night. You didn't dig a foxhole. Thing about Vietnam, there weren't any. It was guerrilla warfare. So even if you were in a big base camp, you could still be mortared at night. Versus in World War I, World War II, where if you were behind a certain area, you probably were safe. Vietnam's pretty crazy though.
So, since you were deployed just outside of Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City, is that the only place you were ever deployed, or? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
alright.
that was it, yeah.
And then what was you talked about the Bravo 1 or Red Bravo 1?
Big Red One, that was, you've heard of the First Cavalry? The
Yeah.
first Cav, they have the big patch.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and then, that's the division that I was with.
Oh.
And then the Big Red One, gee, I don't have a patch, but you'll see that patch, it's green, it has some one. They had the 5th Mech, they had the 101st Airborne, so anyway, those are the names of the divisions that were there. Divisions isn't the right word though, but yeah, everybody takes pride in Bloody Red One, the first Cav, and so, yeah. I think there was over 500 troops in Vietnam, the months that I was there, and that's a lot. That's 500,000. Yeah.
Did you ever see combat?
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't major combat. There would be small firefights. Okay, they would drop us off, and they say, "Okay, we want you to shoot this azimuth and head in this direction." So we would take off, and sometimes we'd come across small groups, and we'd have a firefight. In other words, we would exchange fire. And did that happen every day? No. You could go for 3-4 weeks. Or if sometimes a company would be, or a platoon may be pinned down in a real firefight, and then we would be dropped in there. So that was pretty scary. That was, yeah.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
What did you feel during those firefights? Were you nervous or scared?
Oh, it's just insane. Yeah, I kind of remember the first time. 3 of us hit the ground at the same time in the same place. We tried to get down, but I mean, the rounds were flying over your head, and you're thinking, what the hell is this? I mean, good Lord, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Scared, yeah, very scared. There were nights when we set up ambush, and you could hear things, and like the ground was shaking, and it really was you just, and all your senses are so keen, and wow, it's scary. I think the group that I was with, we were pretty good as far as when it came to doing what we had to do to survive and take care of one another. But some of it was pretty crazy what they asked you to do. So, yeah, it was scary. It was really, really scary at times. Then other times you're just bored stiff. I used to read these, Zan Grey, he was an author, and he had all these westerns, and they're all the same, the cowboy comes into town and blah, blah, blah. And a guy one time asked me about the book, and I told him he wanted me to read to him. I said, I'm not reading, this is an adult. I'm not reading to you. And the guy said, I'll give you the book when I'm done. And he said, oh, that'd be no good because I can't read. I never met an adult. I was 19, 20 years old, couldn't read, so, yeah. I don't know how I got onto that, but, yeah.
Have you ever gone back to Vietnam to
Yes, I have.
Can you describe that experience?
Oh, wonderful. It was really wonderful. When I retired in 2008 up here as assistant principal here, and then in 2009 it was 40 years since I got wounded in Vietnam. So I went back to Vietnam, and I did 2 things that were really important. December 1st of 1968, my best friend, the guy that I was closest to, he got killed, and that was really hard on me. He got killed, and so he lived in Wisconsin, and I never did go down to his parents and see his parents or anything, and I did. And after I retired, 40 years of the day he got shot, I went down there and visited with his mom, and then my goal was to go back in January. I got wounded January 30th, and so I went back not with a group of military people, but with a called Overseas Adventure Travel. It was absolutely wonderful. I mean, it was, and I was in the same area on January 30th, 40 years later. So, and the guide that we had was just a wonderful, wonderful man. It was really special, yeah. And everybody said, well, I suppose this is going to bring some closure for you. And I said, nah, I had to have closure a long time ago in order to function. But, and the people were just wonderful. They're just wonderful. You know, war's kind of a crazy thing. I don't know. Nobody really wins. I mean, even the winners of the island or the land or something, yeah, but they still lose. It's so hard. It's so hard on people and families. And I have no malice towards the Vietnamese at all. None.
So so when you went back, do you think that helped you like cope at all or no?
No, I don't think it helped me cope any. It made me appreciate the Vietnamese. I love the travel. I love the experience. I think I'm a lucky man because there somewhere when I grew up, you know, I had supporting teachers and coaches, and I have a good friend still to this day who's a priest, you know. And we fight about Catholicism all the time. We have a good time. But I had good people, you know, and I kept my nose clean. You know, I didn't do the drugs, and I stayed. And for some reason, I suppose also, you know, having been an athlete in high school, you know, that made a difference. And I had, that's in. You know, I got wounded and got out of there and. Went back to college. I'm lucky that way, because not a lot of guys. I mean, did I have some post-traumatic stress? Sure I did. How can you not after what I've seen, how can you not have post-traumatic stress? But I was lucky and had a supportive family. I got 3 other brothers and a sister, and my mom's the greatest person in the world. You know, I got close to my dad after he quit drinking. We had 25 years. We were pretty close before he died, you know, so. That's a good question, yeah.
So would you say that if you went to Vietnam, you changed?
Oh, yeah.
Even if you didn't see combat?
I would think so, yeah. Oh, if you went back today?
Or no, like
back
while,
in the
while you were
from
there.
the 64 to 75, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah.
Is it just because of like the things you saw and
Yeah, things you saw and just, yeah. And I was a kid too. I was just a young kid. I mean, I think you guys are probably more mature right now maybe than I was. Yeah, and that's, I mean, it wasn't stupid. I'm not the brightest guy in the world, but I wasn't stupid or anything, but I just, you know, wasn't mature. And you grow up, yeah.
How many different assignments did you have? Like, how many different ambushes did you set up? Is it just countless?
The ambush, every night we set up an ambush, yeah. And what an ambush is you find like this ox cart trail that I talked about, and you set claymore mines up, these little mines, and you wait for the NVA or the VC to go through. And if they go through, then you shoot the explosives and fire your weapons and kill them. I mean, it's pretty crazy talking about now, but yeah, you carried a weapon so that you could kill somebody. You know, that's pretty crazy. Or not necessarily kill, but protect yourself and the guys around you. Yeah.
So since you had the radio, did you still carry a weapon?
Yeah, I carried the M16. Yeah.
Was that just like the standard gun?
That was the standard, and it's a good weapon as long as you kept it clean and dry. Yeah, it was a pretty good weapon. And in the platoon, and I ended up carrying the radio for the company commander. So, you know, that's because I had enough brains to kind of figure out a few things. There were some guys in the army that weren't too bright. You know, like I said, The one guy couldn't read. I mean, they're nice people and everything, but yeah, yeah. I think when they say that, yeah, there's some inequities in our world. There sure are. But you know,
How long were you in Vietnam for?
I was only there 4.5 months. But I was wounded and I had surgery in Saigon. I had surgery in Japan. Then I came back to Kansas. Came back here. I was stationed at there's a hospital in Kansas at Fort Riley. So I was attached to the Irvin Army Hospital. So
What was your rank?
I think I got out as a E4. You know, not a high rank.
Right.
Not a high rank.
Did you receive any decorations?
Yeah, I got the Purple Heart, and that's the Purple Heart there. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, that was. You know, I wasn't anything special. You know, I mean,
Just the little stuff.
yeah, it's just no. I carried the radio and took care of my business, and yeah, it was a pretty crazy time. I got to talk to the kids about it today. Wow, you know, that's okay. I can do that. Yeah.
So I assume it was a gunshot?
No, I got hit by it was shrapnel.
Oh.
I have shrapnel in all over, but real bad in my right leg.
Oh, all right.
And I have a couple toes that are kind of ugly and scars. And geez, I had to have an MRA or something. They thought I had a stroke, and so I got 2 pieces of shrapnel in my head that I didn't know I had. So yeah, and my finger, and yeah, you know, I'm a lucky guy. Could be dead several times, but ooh, I'm not. I'm still here. That's okay, Sam. You don't have to say anything.
What was your view on Vietnam War? Would you rather us stayed out, or do you think we should have fought this war?
It's the stupidest war in the world. You know, it's just, well, you know, why were we there? To stop the spread of communism in Southeast Asia. Well, bullshit. You know, it's just crazy. It's, you know, I don't. Thank goodness there were the protesters, because they bought some things. They bought some truce out. You know, it's kind of like for I don't know, you guys with like the nuclear weapons in Iraq. I mean, there are no nuclear weapons. Yeah, you know, but anyway, that's kind of political stuff. But I thought the whole thing was pretty stupid.
Okay.
Not at the time, because you're involved with it, and you're there. Was I upset with the anti-war people that protested against the war? No. But interesting. As soon as I could get my hair to grow a little bit longer, I did, because I didn't. But Vietnam veterans were real popular when I got out of the service in '70. Went back to college, and who were my friends and the people that I kind of hung around with? They're all Vietnam veterans, you know. Bunch of weirdos.
So, were you ever specifically targeted by like any of the anti-war movement people?
No, never. No.
Do you know of anyone who was?
No, I don't know anybody who was personally spit upon or anything
Right.
like that.
Okay.
But you know, when we came back individually. I don't know what they did when in '75 or in '74, '75 when they came back. But you know, most of us were. You know, when I went from here to Oakland, California. Then we hopped on a Saturn Airlines airplane, and we flew over, and then came back. So a lot of guys, when they got out of the service, drove their car, or took a flight. I mean, you didn't come back as a unit, like when you see the bunch coming back here. Yeah. So.
All right. What was an average day like for you in Vietnam?
Well, you probably, you get up in the morning and you didn't sleep much. I weighed about 155 pounds, solid jack meat, in high school. About 40 pounds heavier now, but and I weighed 135 when I came back from Vietnam. and that was with a cast on my right leg. So you set up, you were on ambush all night, so you take turns on radio. And then you get up and we ate C rations, so you'd have something to eat, you'd pack up, and you'd go, they'd give us orders, and you'd hump the bush for the next day. And you might run into something, you might have a firefight, you might run into a tunnel system or something. They had these guys called tunnel rats who went in tunnels. And there were massive tunnels around Saigon and around the area. So a lot of tunnels. I think that one of the missions was to discover where these tunnels were. I mean, I went into one, was already safe and clear. Actually, I went into two, but the one I went into, you go down deep, and they had they had medical supplies, and this was for the VC and the NVA. But you just hump through the jungle. You stop, and then you'd send somebody out to the right, group out to the left, make sure it was secure, and you just keep going. It's hot. Oh my God, it's hot. In the jungle, so the canopy, you didn't see the sun. And then you'd have other exciting things, like one time there was these huge hives, and the bees came down, and they stung about half of us, and some guys got all swelled. They reacted to it. Yeah, and then at night you'd sit there at night, and you would look at all the stars, because there was no light pollution. It was just beautiful, and you'd get all choked up and think about home, think about family. And at that time I had a sweetheart at home. Ended up marrying the broad, but been married to her for 45 years. But yeah, and like my friend Dave that got killed, we'd sit there, we'd share things about sports that we liked to play. He was a baseball player too. So, and we got really close, and that was yeah. But then the next day, same damn thing. You get up and you just hump the jungles. It's so stupid.
What do you think, like, other people's view on the war was for the men in Vietnam? Do you think they wanted to be there, or do you think everyone wanted kind of to get out as fast as they can?
The men there,
Yeah.
other soldiers, we were all kind of the same. We kind of thought. Now this would be 68, 69 when I was there, and I think by that time a lot of the soldiers were minorities and people that were poor, didn't have money to go to college. It wasn't the rich people weren't there. That's for sure. I don't say that in as prejudiced maybe as it sounds, but if I'd be real honest, it was African American and Puerto Ricans and poor white kids like me in the jungle, out in the infantry, and we all thought it was a bunch of bullshit. But when we got in a firefight, we did what we were supposed to do. I got on the radio, we got the machine gun up, and we did our job. The rest of the time it was like, you know what, this is pretty absurd. So.
All right. What in your life changed when you got back?
Oh, wow. When I got back, I was in Kansas, and I got married, and so my wife and I moved to Kansas, and then I was sent home like for 30 days because I couldn't walk, and so then when I went back, I met some guys from Wisconsin, and they asked me if I ever played any sports. I said, yeah. They needed a pitcher for their softball team, fast pitch. So I became the pitcher. I couldn't even walk, and I was pitching for them. We had a ball. That was kind of fun. And then when I got back, I thought that nothing, nothing would ever be as difficult as Vietnam, really. I mean, it was so, when you're on the ground and the rounds are flying over your head, the person on the right is dead if you're American, because he got shot. The guy on the left is crying out because he's in pain, you know, shot in the back or shot someplace, and you're there, you know, I'm talking on the radio. It's like, I never thought anything else would be that hellish. So you know, I decided I'd go back to college and make it through. And in some ways, it gave me a little bit of the confidence that I didn't have before, just about myself, because I was never have been a real confident person. There's like an inner strength that you have because you survived that. And I say, I never thought anything would be that bad until my son died. When my son was 27, he died, and that was harder than I'd rather go back to Vietnam than have my son with me. So that was difficult. So
Okay.
yeah.
Would you ever consider going back, like during the war, like to fight for your country?
Back to Vietnam?
Yeah.
No. I have a brother-in-law, my wife's brother, who came home on leave, R&R, rest and relaxation, and then he went back, and I thought, how could you go back there, knowing what's there? But he wasn't in the infantry. He did some other things. No, and I wouldn't want my son to go there. I wouldn't want you guys to go there and have to go through what I went through. Yeah.
So do you think if you were in infantry, that was probably the hardest stuff to, like, the...
Yeah. I mean, that's, you know, not having been in what we call the rear, but infantry. Yeah. When people, it gets pretty. I don't think it gets any worse when people are shooting at you, and there's I think yeah, that's. I mean, you could be mortared. They could shoot some mortars into your base camp or something. I mean, that's dangerous. But yeah, that was one of the shittiest jobs being, and you know, and carrying a radio. You know, that's like, okay, let's shoot that guy. We know he's
Putting a
because
target on
yeah,
your back.
yeah, it's like putting a target. Because if you're carrying the radio, then you must be by one of the people in charge. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. It's so strange to talk about this stuff sometimes. I don't know if I'm doing a good job or not, but
No,
you know,
you're
we're
doing a great
trying
job.
we're
Thank you.
getting a shot at it here.
Is there a specific memory that has stuck with you, like, throughout your life?
From Vietnam?
Yes.
Yeah, the day that my friend got killed.
Alright.
We it was terrible. We'd been out for about 14 days, and we were just fit. I mean, we were tired. We were just tired, and they called us up to reinforce a recon platoon that had come under fire. So we, instead of the choppers landing, they landed one at a time, and there were rounds flying all over the place. I got my antenna shot off, you know, because I got my antenna shot off that day. And then we were walking, and my friend Dave, he was a squad leader. He took like probably 3 rounds in the head, and he was probably dead before he hit the ground. That's a bad memory. And then the time that when I got wounded too. I mean, that's pretty crazy. So, yeah.
Do you think that it was worth it?
Well, the whole U.S. involvement, no, I don't think so. No, it's, you know, the Vietnamese people. I mean, they went with whoever was there. If the Americans were, I mean, it's like when the French were there, then great for the French, and when the Americans were there, great. When the Viet Cong were there, you're my friend. That's the way to live. Yeah.
Do you... Oh, continue.
Was it worth it for me? You know, you don't have any choice in that. Well, I did have some choices, you know. I could have gotten out of the draft, I suppose, somehow. I could have done something physically. I had a friend that pierced his eardrums so that he wouldn't have to, he broke his eardrums so that he wouldn't have to go. I mean, you know, I suppose I could have, I heard stories, people shooting themselves in the foot so that, you know, they can get out of there, so. But I guess I had a few more brains than that, you know.
Do you agree with the policy of containment?
To define the policy of containment. I mean,
Like containing the spread of communism in, like South Asia.
wow, that's a good. I really no. I'm not sure that. And you know, it's my own feeling. How can we as a country continue to support and take care of all these other countries? At some point, we have to say, we can give you aid, give you maybe money, but we can't be sending troops. Yeah, so do I truly believe in that? No, I don't. No.
Do you feel like you helped the Vietnamese by going there?
No.
No.
No, I don't think so. Did I as a person? No, no. I helped more by teaching and talking to kids maybe. That helps more than when they did over there. So.
Did you develop any friendships, like close friendships that are still lasting today while you were over there?
Just Dave, and he died, and they've had reunions, our outfit, but I decided no, that's okay. I've sorted through what I need to sort through. I've seen some pretty horrific things, and Dave was the closest friend, and after that, I thought, you know, I'm done with it. Yeah. So.
Alright.
There is a
do you have
faculty
any last
meeting
thoughts
in
or
lecture room
stories
A.
you would like to
There's a
share?
faculty
Is there
meeting
what?
in lecture room A.
Any last thoughts or stories you would like to share?
No, I think that's kind of it. You know, it was a pretty crazy time. But you know, on the other hand, you know, I spent 2 years, and then I got what was called the GI Bill, so I could go back to college because my folks didn't have any money. Good heavens, you know. And again, I got a scholarship, but after I got wounded, I couldn't play any sports or anything like that. So scholarships helped, but I worked, and so that was. You guys remember Mr. Walter?
Yeah.
Did you have him?
I had Mr. Anderson.
Yeah. So
Alright.
that's it. I think. Yeah, that's. So who else have you interviewed? Have you?
I interviewed